We'll call the meeting for the Capital Planning Committee for fiscal '27. We'll start the process. As you know, this is around the time that we meet. Actually, we're meeting a month early this year. We did this in March. So this is good because we also have the Budget Advisory Group that we're working with and other committees, including the Finance Committee. So I'd like to just begin with how I usually...
This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, the
by
meeting is being
DCTV.
recorded by DCTV, and we're in person also. So I'd just like to start off with how I usually start off the meetings. Back about 4 years ago, the committee had decided to, bring a little bit more level of priority to a lot of the requests that come into the town. On certain circumstances, this is doable, but on other circumstances, it's not. So we talked about priority 1, 2, 3, and 4, where in essence, before they were giving out priorities up until like 15 and 20, which was hard for the committee to make a determination on what the real importance of that particular item was to be voted on. So I think the departments have done a good job. I know that some departments still using the older version, but I think them labeling the priority 1s and 2s, we've seen that a little bit more in depth for the committee to make decisions on. So I just wanted so the public to see that. Also, what I usually do this time of year is go over what is available. So if you remember at fall town meeting, we were certified for about $8.2 million in free cash for the general fund. We spent these line items via articles that went into the stabilization fund, long-term capital, and then the collective bargaining stabilization fund, and $3.6 million in capital items that were requested out of that. So right now, for the general fund, we have about $3.1 million still available. We also break that out for the water enterprise fund, the sewer enterprise fund, solid waste, waterways, and DCTV. So you can see those balances here. As you're aware, on the water enterprise fund, we did have some issues where the reserves weren't there. So I would still caution the committee to, maybe look at when that comes in from Tim, DPW director, to be cautious on what we're actually spending on that, because we're trying to still build up reserves in that account. As you know, that we had a rate increase, so those bills will be going out very, very shortly. Mm-hmm. So we want to kind of see what that looks like. I would suggest for this remaining fiscal year before we start spending that down again. Other than that, sewers is looking good. Solid waste is looking good. Waterways and DCTV. And as you know, we get free cash certified in the fall. So anything that does not get spent gets rolled over into free cash for the fall. So it's a little bit different than what we've been doing in the past. I think we've spent almost everything at the fall town meeting. But my recommendation was that we hold back on some of that spending, so there is some availability here. Does anybody have any questions on this?
No, I have some good news, though. I did look in the bylaws, and you are a member of the committee, so you could be chairperson.
Okay, if the committee wants me to be chairperson, I don't have a problem with that. With running the meetings, no problem at all. So this is where we stand right now for balances, so just keep this in mind. And I'll have this go through we'll go through this as we meet with the departments. Obviously, today's schools, we're going to be kicking it off with Jim Kiley, and he has presented a presentation. He's given me a presentation to put up here, but I also had sent his request to the group earlier. But he's done a nice job with the little presentation that he has. I can put that up on the screen if you'd like.
That'd be great.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you. I have a hard copy too,
Okay.
just in
Anybody
case.
wants a hard
Sometimes,
I'm a hard copy.
sometimes that's helpful.
Jim? Thank you.
Yes, you want it?
No, Deidre would like.
Oh, sure.
It's okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks, Gary.
Yep.
So, as always, I'm appreciative of your consideration. We have a long list of things. We have buildings that are averaging more than 70 years old, 1922, 1955, 1955, 1956, 1967, and the new building that is 25 years old. So that's our inventory of buildings, and It's a real challenge. John Bernat is here, my facilities manager, in case there's any specific questions and that, the two of us can certainly help answer those. But it's a task for us to maintain these buildings, and we appreciate your consideration for our requests. We tie everything to our strategic plan. Our strategic plan has a whole section on budget and facilities. And it really just ties the educational side of our operation to the actual functional operation of having a learning space that's conducive for performance of the daily tasks that the kids are trying to undertake every day. And for those that went on the facilities tour back on January 15th, we toured the high school, our new building, which in and of itself has some issues, as we saw on that tour, but is a good building. And needs some attention. And then we toured the Dartmouth Middle School that was originally built in 1956 with additions following, and it's a building that's tired and in need of a change for sure. So I appreciate everyone who was on that tour. It was a good group, and I think it was an eye opener. And we hope to open the building up again for more visits from folks in town. So our list is fairly long. This is just the FY27 list. You have the full list. That's a 10-year capital plan. And in that list, there's a summary page, there's a listing of each of the 10 years requests. Then there's a little bit of detail for each request in terms of a narrative detail of each request. So what I'll do today is just take you through the FY27 requests, because I know that's currently what you're considering possible funding, and then we can talk about them and answer any questions you might have. I'll go through each
yeah,
one.
okay.
So why don't I go through those on the slides, Gary?
Okay,
Because
yeah.
they're each one of these requests has a slide.
Okay.
I won't spend time on this because Gary just really
Yep,
said
okay, good.
exactly what you need. We tried to rank them according to priority, priority order with the focus of like continuation of service, Priority 1, posing a threat to providing essential town services. Or Priority 2, may significantly impact service delivery. Or Priority 3, done in line with best practices. Those were the three areas that we kind of, that we identified for each of these. So the first thing on the list is school bus replacement. So we have one bus is what we own in the school department. We contract out our regular education school bus service. So this does not provide regular ed to and from home service. What this bus does is it does extracurricular transportation for athletics, music, and field trips and other activities. And it also transports every day our early childhood program, which is a certification program that we have at the high school where students walk away graduate from that program with an actual certificate in early childhood education, and they can go get a job that pays pretty well and is in demand right from the start. So this bus takes those kids from the high school to the elementary schools each day to work with younger kids. It has 95,000 miles on it. We spent $13,000 on it in repairs in the last year. We've had it, we just recently, had it inspected, and our school bus provider took a look at it and said, it's the end of the line in terms of getting it, passing inspection. There's a high standard of inspection for a school bus, of course, right? This is, you're transporting 50 students on this bus, and so there's a very high standard there, and this bus is now, at the end of that, being able to being able to be approved for that. We put $150,000 replacement cost. It's gonna be real close to that. Might be a little less, but not a lot less. We've called this a priority one because if we do not do this, I'm not sure we have the early childhood education program, because it would require us to contract out our service each day. It would really be cost prohibitive to have a bus on hand from a vendor every day. So we really hope to replace this bus. This bus would be retired and auctioned off. It would probably make some money on auction that would go back into the general fund. It would most likely, its future would not be as a school bus, but it would be used by someone for some transportation purpose. So our hope is that, we can fund that. And the second item on the list is flooring replacement. So we've done a ton of this through the years. We've completed, so the 1950s buildings and the 1967 Quinn School were built with asbestos-containing materials. And unfortunately, almost all of the flooring in the Potter School, the DeMello School, the Quinn School, and the Dartmouth Middle School were asbestos-containing materials. So we have gradually gotten to the point where we are for almost entirely complete at the DeMello and Potter School of asbestos removal. We're only about, we have 41 rooms remaining at the Quinn School to abate. We can only do about 10 or 12 a summer. Just because there's a defined window of 10 weeks, we have to get clearance, air clearance, in the building, and the whole process takes time. And so we'd hope that this request of $200,000 would allow us to do about 10 to 12 rooms, depending on the size of the rooms, and that would be about 25% of the remainder. So that gives you an idea. We're still looking at, we're looking at, another 4 rounds of doing this. So you see a picture there, like when asbestos tile cracks, and you see the little cracks above the yellow line. The yellow line is a wire that somebody taped to the floor for some reason. But above the yellow line, you see the cracks on those tiles. For those that went on the tour of the middle school, you saw some of that too. So we really want to address those before they become a problem, peel up, become friable, which means that the asbestos could be in the environment. So it's something that we have to do.
And at this point, Quinn is the worst of the worst at this
Quinn is the
point.
worst. The tiles are coming up, unfortunately, for whatever reason. I guess it's just the end of their life, and they're popping up. And so we've been tackling the worst rooms gradually, but it has to be done.
Yeah. These first floor, second floor?
Both. Both first floor, second floor. The worst area of the building is the east-facing side, so the far side from here. And that's first and second floor. But the whole building, it still needs a lot. We've been doing it, but it's a big building.
Right.
It was, built as a middle school. It's a large building, and we've gotten 20 rooms done in that building, but we have more.
Okay, and how many more years will it be to be able to complete Potter and DeMello? How much you got left?
One.
One
We
year.
could do it in 1 year. The problem is if we're focusing, we have to shift focuses.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah.
It'd be
So
really
we're
nice
doing
to
the
say,
worst.
boom.
Yeah, right now, the spaces at Potter and DeMello are limited to very small areas where the floors are in good shape. We really need to focus on Quinn, get that done because of the actual
Viable.
deterioration.
Yeah.
You know, so, the middle school would be an area of focus too, but we'll talk a little more about the middle school in a minute.
So I have a question with the limited funds that you see that we have. If we had to reduce this number, would that still allow you to get a portion of your classrooms done?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, we can scale it, accordingly. But there is an economy of scale in terms of the project, right? So you have to set up, you have to set up enclosures to do this work. If we are able to do a whole wing at a time, it makes a lot of sense because you can close off the whole wing, you can, get the appropriate enclosures in place, get it abated, get the clearance, and then go in and rip through a series of floors in terms of replacing them all at once versus if you do 2 classrooms, it's going to cost you more per classroom.
Ideally, this would have been handled all at once, the whole school at once, and economies of scale, we would have saved a lot of money.
Would
but-
love to do it, but there's no way to do it in a summer.
Right.
So we just don't have enough time to do that level. This is the right amount to do in a summer. So, for us, we can't really do double this in one summer. We just don't have the time to get the job done before you have to get the building ready and start school again, because that's the other thing. You get all this done.
Right.
Okay, now we have to load everything back in the classrooms and get ready for the start of school, and you have 10 weeks in the summer. It's not very much time. And contractors we're not the only one that's doing this work, so, it's a challenge for sure. But we'll do it if funds allow.
And at the, we've been given that 200 for,
Yeah.
I don't know, is it 10 years already?
It's the right amount. 200 used to do about 15 rooms. Now it does about 10 to 12 rooms, depending on the size. But 200,000 gives us the right amount to do a chunk of rooms that can make an impact on the building and be accomplished in one summer.
Yeah, the only reason why I'm asking is, would it be worth it, be getting more so you can get it more cost efficient on that first floor, that whole wing or whatever? And if it's 15 rooms instead, I'll go back to those.
It probably is going to be, a little more maybe, but much more than this is not going, I don't want to say no to more money, but,
Yeah.
but much more than this is going to make it more than we can accomplish in the 10-week period that we have. So it's got to be gradual, basically. And it's on the list gradually throughout, until we're done, which hopefully at some point we are. So technology hardware replacement, this is something that's on the list regularly. Right now, we have 900 Chromebooks that are over 5 years old. Chromebooks are used by kids. They're a little simpler technology device. They're not as fancy. Not that my laptop's fancy. It's got cracks and a few pieces missing, but it's a much more simple device for the kids. We provide a new Chromebook for 6th graders and 9th graders. They keep them, they bring them home, they keep them for 3 years in middle school and then the 4 years in high school. So as those cycle out, they get shifted to the elementary school for the remainder of their life, the elementary schools, I should say. So the average life of the Chromebook in the end is probably somewhere around 7 years, and we really we have one-to-one technology. Every student has technology available to them, and
That's a long time for a tablet.
it is. It's stretching it. But we find ways to the elementary students for the most part do not bring home their devices, so you get a little more life out of them in that way. Obviously, they're not getting pencils stuck in them when they close the screen, and bananas occasionally crushed in them, in the keyboard and so forth, the usual. So we are, need to continue to replace those. We have 80 teacher laptops to replace, hopefully this year. They're about 6 or 7 years replacement cycle. other equipment, whiteboards, smart boards, printers, peripherals, things like that, that we need to replace. We're proposing 325,000. We'll do whatever we can with whatever can be provided. So we continue to supplement this with school choice funds too. Part of our school choice funds is allocated for this.
So do you have a calendar that rotates through and you kind of do this on a cycle like we do with the police cars?
Yeah, Mr. Galashaw, you may be familiar with him. Jonathan Galashaw is our Chief Technology Officer, and he has a rotation and adjusts the rotation depending on how much money we have, so.
And Jim,
And we reserve some, like, because of replacements and
Bananas
emergencies
and
and
pencils
things
and-
that we have to shift, so we try and reserve some of the funding and then move it as soon as we know that we're not gonna need it for emergency situations.
on the average, we've been giving you about 225,000.
Yeah, yeah.
A year.
Yep.
So now we're up to 325.
I mean, unfortunately, we will do what we have to do with whatever you give us, but we can stretch a year of, like, probably not the Chromebooks. We pretty much stretch those as long as possible. I mean, we stretch everything as long as possible, but whatever funds we don't have to use to replace these items, like maybe some whiteboards continue to not be replaced in classrooms, although those are a primary instructional tool. It's, used every day. Maybe instead of replacing teacher laptops at 6 years, you try and stretch everything to 7 years and do it that way. So, I mean, we're cognizant of the limited funding, and we appreciate the continued support. So we'll do whatever we can. We do have a pretty big list of things to do.
So again, I think my question is, just to reiterate, because of the fact that we're dealing with limited budget, sounds like 150,000 is what you need for Chromebooks. Anything above and beyond that would just be to supplement teacher computers, whiteboards, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
if we have it, certainly our goal is to fund it, but if not, you can still work with.
Yeah,
reduce
I
it.
mean, if you elected to do 225,000 instead of 325,000, then what we would, we'll use the school choice funds to supplement, and we'll figure out how to stretch.
I think our goal is to try to obviously fund everybody, but
Yeah.
we're dealing with a
I understand.
limited bucket.
I understand.
Bucket. So
Of course.
it's more of, if you don't get it all, then you can't do it. That's not what you're saying. You're saying you can.
That's not what I'm
Okay.
saying.
All right,
We'll,
perfect.
we'll figure out a way to stretch however we need to.
As we have for years.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So playground improvements, so this would target a playground at the DeMello School. I know it's at least 20 years old. I don't know exactly when it was installed. But the playground, we're at the point where we're trying to repair playground equipment without parts being, they're not manufactured, they're not stocked, they're gone. So we're in the position where there are certain pieces of equipment that we can't use, we can't replace, we're closing certain, parts of the playground operation. And believe it or not, playground's a pretty important spot at an elementary school. So, for some kids, that's the highlight of their day. And we certainly don't want to get to the point where we're closing playground areas entirely and all we have is a field to play in, or maybe a basketball hoop. So we need to cycle through and get through these playgrounds. We're currently finalizing the plan for the replacement of one of the Quinn playgrounds. There are 3 there. There's 700 kids there, so there's 3 playgrounds, and we're finalizing that with funding that was provided. We received an addition. We didn't have enough money, and we received $100,000 at Fall Town Meeting, which we're appreciative of. So we're finalizing that one at Quinn, but this is for the DeMello School.
Can you
And-
apply for the CPC money?
So,
Got it,
yeah, Mr. Haddad and
There's-
Mr. Carrero and I have been talking about it a little.
Yeah, we're gonna have a further conversation with Buddy Baker-Smith on that.
I didn't know if there was an issue with the school.
Generally, they've not approved
Yeah.
these. However, I think some of the school playgrounds are more accessible to the general public than others.
Oh,
And
yeah.
those are the ones I think that we can make an argument for. The argument in the past has been, they're not open
Yeah.
generally to the public.
Yeah.
But some of these, in some cases, are, so I think we can look at that.
Yeah, yeah, of course, none of our playgrounds are open to the public
During the
all
day.
the time.
Right.
Right, not during school. So, so that is a factor that we're sort of facing in terms of that funding, but, you know, obviously, we'd love to have some and get these projects done.
Do you know what the usage is after school?
It depends on the school, so the Quinn School in particular is clearly the highest use. We have so many activities, the high school students practice in the Quinn School fields after school gets out, because we don't have any fields at the high school to practice at. So, so it's used a lot, and a lot of parents will bring their smaller children, siblings, to the Quinn School, so they're all over it. It's used on weekends, so that's the one that gets the most use. But there's students at DeMello, there's children at the DeMello and Potter playgrounds on weekends, and certainly not at the moment with the snow we've got, but, yeah. So telephone replacement, so we have a older telephone system, so Mr. Galashaw is facing sort of a deadline in fiscal year 2028 when this thing is no longer going to be supported. So where he has a plan in place to replace it with an IP cloud-based service, more modern service, we're estimating that will be $120,000. Communication's important, and we certainly need something reliable that can be, the technology can be supported, and at some point in the next year, that's gonna become a reality where we're not gonna have support on that system. The high school roof. So we've, as I think everybody knows, we've been accepted into the MSBA Accelerated Repair Program. I spoke to them a week ago, and they are going to assign the MSBA staff who's going to work with us. They've not yet. So they awarded the acceptance, I guess, into the Accelerated Repair Program at the end of October, right after our fall town meeting. At which we appropriated $250,000 for a feasibility study, which hopefully we don't spend all of, but at this point, so next week, we should have their person assigned, and in March, an owner's project manager assigned. Now, I'm starting to think that it's unlikely that at the June town meeting, we'll have a request for the project. Because of the timing, if they don't assign an owner's project manager till March, I'm not sure that the feasibility study will be completed, and then we have a hard number in a project funding agreement with MSBA, and then can ask for funding in June 2nd. I'm not sure that that's gonna happen. So it might be that the funding for that project will be in October. I don't think the MSBA is in a hurry with this project in particular, because if they're not gonna, the June town meeting is not a real functional town meeting for a project like this, because you can't award at the June town meeting and actually bid it out and contract and find a contractor and mobilize for a summer installation. So I have a feeling that they're targeting the October town meeting for us. They know all the town meeting dates and everything, so that we would be seeking funding at that meeting, which would then give us time to do the project. The biggest problem I see with that approach, and I've told them this, is we don't have an election. So I don't see any way we're gonna make the April ballot for that's not gonna happen, for a debt exclusion vote for this.
Yeah, and to hold a special,
Is
Why
about
not?
$15,000, right? Something like that, to hold a special. So, we're gonna have to figure this out. It's gonna be complicated, and
Wouldn't it be
it may
cheap-
be that we have to hold a special.
Well, yeah, wouldn't it be cheaper to run a special than waiting another year and having the
Yes.
cost go up to 6%
Yes,
of that number? You're gonna override that 15,000 with no problem at all, so it's
Right.
almost feasibility to do it.
right,
Not to mention the cost of buckets that you're gonna have to buy
Yeah.
next year, right?
yeah. But a one-issue special election, it's a shame to do that, but at this point, I can't see, if we don't have the owner's project manager until early March, there's no way, we're doing the feasibility study, determining the amount of the project, and going for a debt exclusion vote in a month.
Jim, is 6 million the entire cost or the town's share?
When I originally put that number in, I thought it was the entire cost. I think it's more likely the town share, based on what I'm seeing in terms of construction cost of roofs.
So
If you
that's
look
about
at,
50%, that's 50% of the total
yeah,
project cost is what you're
yeah,
estimating.
it's gonna be an expensive roof. Now, I don't anticipate we'll be doing the metal roof components of that building or anything, so that's good. That's some of the square footage.
But what about
All the flashing, and the other thing is the HVAC
Right,
units.
mechanicals.
Right, the
That's
mechanicals are a big deal on this project. They're a big deal.
And are you gonna do
And
the windows
we'll see
anyway?
some pictures of a couple of things in a second. It's, the windows are not gonna be considered by MSBA.
I know that, but do they have to be done?
So I would suggest, because of the number of windows that we have in that building, I would suggest we wait till the windows get to the 30-year mark. And then we reapply to MSBA for them. Because yes, I mean, you saw them as you were walking around, virtually every window in that building, the seals are broken, it's condensation in between, I don't know.
They've taken clear windows and now they're frosted windows.
Yeah, the frosted glass look. But,
yeah, we'll have to coordinate this, obviously.
challenging.
Doing this like in March, we're talking about, mid-year, then we do it again, we try again in the fall. The timing for borrowing has to be right, because, we've got to get a lot of people involved, the FAs, the bond council, it's going to go out to the voters, if that's the case. But in the meantime, we could also, we have the long-term capital stabilization account, which is $1 million right now. If we keep on putting money into that, there could be a hybrid approach, we've talked about that in the past. So, not to say that we want to wait any longer, but
Right. Jim, that 6 million, and is that including doing the mechanicals? So has that even been evaluated? Because, I mean, you're at the 25-year mark, so they gotta be done. I don't wanna see a roof done,
I know,
not put that in there somehow,
know.
because,
I know.
I mean, it would be a waste of time and money.
Now, Bruce, the mechanicals, you're talking about all the HVAC systems, all the.
Yeah,
Well, everything that's on the top of that roof, all that
yeah.
mechanicals that are on that roof.
All the HVAC, well, we can go to the next slide.
Okay.
The HVAC slide happens to be right after that. I mean, you see these units, like the big units on the right, so that's the inside of one of those units, and that's the outside. I mean, this is this is like the size of a truck.
A trailer.
Yeah, it really is. And there's multiple units, these giant units on the roof. It would be a mistake not to do them.
Right.
I don't know how much that's gonna cost. I don't know how much MSBA is gonna contribute to that part of the project, if any. They might not. They might only, I wouldn't be surprised if it's only the actual roofing material and the flashing relating to these to these units. So, yeah, it's gonna be a very
You
expensive
know what's good
project,
to hear,
but,
though, honestly, is that you, both Gary and Jim are talking about it and have an idea of the timeline, and you're kind of thinking ahead, which is a little bit of a change from the past.
Yeah, I mean, looking at these photos here, you would think that maybe a new unit would be a little bit, maybe more efficient, less space on the roof. But, yeah, that is a big
oh, yeah.
piece of the roof there.
Yeah.
And now, you're right, Bruce, I think if we're looking at the mechanicals of this, does a smaller unit take less space up? I mean, what does that do to the roof, the
Yeah,
design?
I think so from doing roofs at UMass, like, what that's built on is made for that kind of weight. So even if you shrink it down, you're still gonna have to wrap that in roof material. So
Right,
it's
yeah.
actually gonna increase the amount of roof covering that you're gonna end up doing.
Yeah.
So slightly less flashing, but the roof, it's kind of not really a change. I think the thing is like, when I look at it, is you're bringing in cranes. Yeah, all your costs are gonna go up significantly, because if you're gonna replace a unit like that, and not to mention lead time. We're doing a building on campus in Larts, and I think some of the lead time on that equipment is like 12 months. So if you're looking at next summer at getting stuff done, like, now is the time, and it might even be a little late, but now is the time, when you get your OPM to consider it. I think
Yep.
you're gonna have massive scope creep.
Yeah.
Like, the scope of this project is gonna go up significantly, so I don't think 6 million is, I mean, it'd be-
Yeah, and who does this, who would that fall under, because
Well-
they're talking about the roof and the state paying for their
Right.
project manager. Will the project manager also include all the accessories that we've got to contemplate? Or is he gonna just say, you look at the existing roof and replacing the existing roof and that's it?
I think MSBA has an interest in this roof project being successful, and obviously, these are weak points from a roofing perspective as well, because there are penetrations in the roof that are of significant concern. I gotta believe that they're not gonna just tell us, okay, we're gonna put new flashing around all your old stuff and walk away. I'm hoping as soon as the owner's project manager, maybe even before, as soon as MSBA assigns their point person, we can say, okay, do you want us to start having this evaluated separately? Do you need or can the owner's project manager incorporate this into the feasibility, study, and we get an architect on, designers on board, and let's go. Let's figure out exactly what's this gonna cost. I can't see, that's why the 6 million that I initially believed, now, we've been asking for a roof for a long time. It's been quite a few years.
Does the OPM do the feasibility study?
I don't know.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So the OPM is gonna be doing the feasibility study. I think what's gonna happen
With the
too is,
designer.
once they bring an architect, you're gonna have to bring an MEP
Yep.
to look at the system that you have in place, whether it can be modified, because they might just say, hey, let's just replace the sides, the guts, and we can reuse the shell.
It may
which-
be. It may be.
So, but I think what they may do is keep that on, they may want to project manage that, because you said it might be easier for them to do it and the roof at the same time, rather than have two competing.
Definitely will be, so I'm hopeful that
I would
that's the way this
imagine,
is
yeah,
gonna
I
go,
mean-
but I don't have a definitive answer about that at the moment.
Yeah, I think part of the feasibility study is the school might want to push hard on getting them to get an MEP on there to
Oh, yeah.
assess the HVAC and.
Oh, no
And
doubt.
is that 600,000 that you have here, does that include replacing some of this, or is this just like? we
Mostly
need
not.
Okay,
Mostly not, this is for other needs. We have
do you have a breakdown per school, or is it just the overall, Mr. Kiley?
We have targeted areas that we need to tackle first at the other schools. And some of it obviously, the high school would be by far the most expensive part of this. And there is work that we need to do at the high school irrespective of the roof project. So for those that were there on that tour on the 15th, things weren't ideal in that building that day. They haven't been ideal, unfortunately, for a long time in terms of the temperature control and the the operation of equipment in that building. So this will target the high school, making sure that it's it's a learning environment that is conducive. We're sort of not fixing things a lot at the middle school because some of these, a couple of these pictures are middle school pictures. It's just, the scope of it is just not, we just can't tackle it.
Yeah.
And ideally, if we replace the building, maybe we can survive for a few years. But that puts a lot of, not having fresh air in the appropriate quantities, and there's a lot to consider with things like that. So
But I imagine these buildings weren't designed to have fresh air
Yeah.
brought in, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the reason I asked is at some point, after doing the tour, we don't want to be throwing good money at,
No.
at a building that's gonna potentially, that we're looking at replacing, and that will be. And if you could limp that along.
we would. Yeah, that's what we've been doing, though. I mean.
No, I understood, but I mean.
Yeah, Mr. Burnott's, we're not focused on the middle school, but should be.
Yeah.
And we'll have to be if we don't do something with that building, then yeah, we've got to do something with
So-
the HVAC system. But
If the HVAC system does get replaced or as part of the roof project, that would include balancing and maybe take care of some of the issues that you're having at the high school?
That's our hope. We do have a new control system in the high school. So, new, 2 years old, and it's not working well because the equipment is failing on the ends of the control system. I mean, a control system's nice, but
If it's controlling faulty equipment, doesn't matter.
exactly,
Understood.
we're chasing constantly. So, yeah.
I think for me, I'm just trying to wrap my head around what that 600, where is it primarily focused? And if,
Yeah,
and it sounds like
I mean, that's really.
it would not be the middle school,
Wouldn't be a complete unit, a whole new unit.
Oh, it wouldn't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, but we wouldn't
Talking
be
millions.
targeting that. We'd be targeting some of the smaller equipment at the high school, the end equipment in the rooms, univents, things like that we have to repair or replace at the high school, at the Quinn School.
Yeah, I know when on the
Potter
tour,
and
when we
DeMello
went, I know
to
when
an
we went on the
extent.
tour, it seemed like some of the rooms were like, the heat was like,
It was
Blasted.
extreme, yeah.
And
93 in one of the rooms.
there was
that we
no
went into.
like, and
Yeah, it was bad.
yeah, I think.
There's no mechanical way to override some of those and forget about all our technology, especially like in the middle school. There's gotta be a way that you can mechanically fix, so everybody's at that
Or is it on, like an on or
somewhat
off system?
same.
It's on, off.
Somewhat same,
The middle school's pneumatics still. So, that's like out of the question.
We know what pneumatics is air through tubes
And
running.
if it has a leak, then you hear a hiss.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're entirely on off. For the most part, we're on off
that's
at
it.
the middle
There's
school.
no way to share the wealth.
I think the issue that I saw was at the high school. We were in a room and it was like 93. I think
It was
Cody might have
bad.
got.
That's
looked like it was
embarrassing.
99, yeah.
And we told, we immediately following that had a meeting with our HVAC contractor and said, this could not have been more embarrassing for us too. But it's reality, and unfortunately,
But that's how
Mr.
things
Burnott's
get done
chasing
sometimes.
that.
I mean, it happens. Like
Yeah.
like you can't
Yeah,
control
it
something
happens.
breaks. It breaks. There's nothing you
Yeah.
can do about it. So.
Yeah. So we'll do the best we can. The high school track, this has been on the list for quite a bit. I put a couple of the photos just to show you, the deterioration of the cracks. The middle photo is a patch that we did to an area. So we're doing that in areas where we're cutting out sections of the track and patching them. But that's a short-term fix because then you have cracks where you patched. So it's utilized daily for PE and athletics, and a lot of community members walk the track at DHS. I see it all the time. It's 25 years old, probably designed to be a 15 to 20-year track max. So we've gotten our money's worth. We had scheduled, Mr. Bernat scheduled drilling core samples just to be absolutely clear when we do replace this, what the subsurface is made up of and what the quality of it is. So unfortunately, they get bogged down and didn't get out here, and now we've got all this snow. And so in March, they're gonna drill the core samples for that, but we're estimating a $950,000 replacement cost based on the couple of vendors that we've had visit the site.
Jim, was it not 6 years ago, maybe longer, that it was only $500,000?
Yep.
And by us not borrowing or not doing anything about it, now we're looking at a $950,000.
That's what we believe, yes.
So, I'm just trying to prove the point. Unfortunately, the last administrator was not one for borrowing. That is almost doubled. Those borrowing costs would have been less than that if we had done that back then. And then, it's just another proven point that sometimes we just have to bite the bullet and start doing a lot more borrowing. We've got the borrowing capacity, and until we start really taking care of the projects, this is an ongoing thing for the last 6 years or so, that nothing gets accomplished if you don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I agree. I know there's a limited pool of funds but I think if, it would obviously make sense to borrow and get it done. And, I think the ultimate bite the bullet is the next slide.
We did talk about combining this project with some other projects and do one big borrowing, right?
Yes.
So,
So, replacing Dartmouth Middle School you have to bite the bullet because you have 1922, 1955, 1955, 1956, 1967. Those are your reality, and you have to replace a building. And the MSBA just rated it our worst building, no surprise, obviously. We need to do something about it. We've talked about, our tour, and it's not a good learning environment, and our staff are amazing and do good work with kids, and we're lucky for that. But it's not this cannot go on forever. We think that a new school project would offer some great potential for the community in terms of considering the possibility of a new high school rather than a middle school on that site. It would allow us to have a modern, competitive high school when we're sending kids to other schools like New Bedford Voc, Bristol Aggie, and private schools. We'd be more competitive. We would have a high school in the center of town, which I think is a huge advantage for the whole community. It's a hub of activity. It would allow us to likely retire a building at which is the Cushman School, which was built in 1922, and that's one for a tour sometime too. It's a quick tour, but it's.
And I think that's the important thing is that, and I had mentioned this at the walkthrough, is if the town decides to build a building, is to take buildings offline. Last time we didn't do that, and I think we talked about the Gidley School going offline, but it was gonna go offline anyway. So we built a school, we didn't take anything offline, we didn't retire any of our inventory, where now, if you do build a new school, there's the potential of taking 2 of your oldest buildings offline.
Yes.
And it still leaves 2 schools I mentioned that if we wait another 25 years to build, we'll have 2 elementary schools that'll be over 100 years old.
Right.
So it's important that we stagger projects, and I think that you're going in that direction, which is good. But to replace 4 schools at once is not something that I don't think won't happen. I mean, it happened in the 50s because of, government subsidies, but it just won't happen nowadays. So that's really something to consider, to really keep the Potter School and DeMello School up to date as much as we can, because I don't think those are gonna get replaced anytime soon.
And I think the real selling point for the new high school is what you presented when you first put it out there. There's benefit to everybody in town. It's not just the high school. The reconfiguration of the grades would allow more room at the elementary schools. The junior high would be in a newer school. So that's important to remember, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not asking for any money, oddly enough.
Right.
At the moment, anyway. But I think that this committee's support would be key in terms of, we are hoping to, within the next month, complete a statement of interest that, for the Massachusetts School Building Authority for the consideration of the school committee and the select board. Mid-April is the deadline for submission of the statement of interest for a core, what they call a core program, which is either a major renovation or replacement of a building. So our hope is to submit that in this cycle and see what MSBA says.
Right, I mean, I think long range, we had also
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
supported this totally and stuff like that after looking at all our major projects in the town and stuff like that. My question is this money doesn't have to get appropriated or voted on until after the Mass School Board puts us on their list.
That's correct. I would suggest we don't take any action
Right, but-
outside of consideration of the statement of interest by the select board and the school committee. But I do think, this committee is an important part of the process in terms of the town's facilities overall. And, if you want to consider supporting that submission, I think it would be great. We can certainly come back and I can talk to you again once I have the statement of interest in hand done. Although it wouldn't be a vote of this board to authorize submission, I think, your support for
the
moving
select
forward in
board.
that way would be great.
Yeah, and Jim had put in, as you know, in the prior years, about $100 million for that. I mean, that obviously could fluctuate over time as we go. That's an earmark.
fluctuate over
That's
That
only
used to be the
plugged in.
whole project.
Right, yeah.
Now that's probably our half, and I don't even know
Not
about
even
that.
that, I don't-
Like,
There was a town in Rhode Island that just, they're gonna be over the $400,000. I mean,
400 million, yeah.
400 million all told for their school.
Unbelievable.
And they're over budget, and they went back for an override for a little bit more, and they got rejected, so now they're in a world of hurt, so they're gonna have to downscale their activities center and stuff like that, part of it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, for me, I'd love to see the report. I'm sure the committee would too.
Yes.
Love to see the report before,
I'll
We're
submit
certainly
it to
very
Mr. Guerrero
supportive
and-
of what you have to do, but we'd like to see it first. And
Sure,
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
circulate it to the group.
yeah, great,
And can we go back to the track for a minute?
certainly.
Say you got the money today.
Yep.
How long, what's the timeline for doing the work? Do you have to do a
Pretty short.
feasibility? Oh, pretty short, okay. so you
Yeah,
don't
I
have
mean,
to
if I
do-
had the money today, if I
Right.
had the money on June 2nd first of all, we don't have the money on June 2nd. We don't have the money till July 1st.
Right.
If the town meeting voted it on June 2nd, that's tricky.
Right.
Because how do I contract? I mean, unless I get very lucky and have contractors who have no summer work planned, and in this business, that's not gonna happen.
And
So-
I would imagine it depend on how your cores come back. If they come back favorable, then,
Right.
versus like, hey, you need to do some site work to
Yeah,
make this
yeah,
drainage or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. The length of the project will be determined by the layers that are necessary, and but yeah, I think it'll be a challenge.
No, Jim,
June
is that
2nd
only
vote.
the surface, or does that total also include if in fact they do
Some
base?
subsurface work,
Okay,
which
yeah.
we know we're gonna have to do some. There's multiple layers of of material. We know they're gonna have to do some. We're hoping not.
That's
like-
why you're doing those core
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
Well, that whole area was elevated when we built the school.
Yes.
Stuff like that, so I would think most of it's all
I think so.
settled and,
Yeah.
won't be as bad as you would think.
I hope so. Yeah, that's what we were thinking.
Yeah.
So, we need to replace a 2013 F-250. Did I get that right, John? F-250? 2012, okay. You see, you see it rusting out there. So we use our few maintenance vehicles every day for maintaining the 6 buildings. This truck has surpassed its useful life. They're actually still using it to snowplow and stuff, but this isn't gonna pass inspection. I won't
Use
talk
your feet
about
to
whether
stop
we
it,
inspect it or
like
not,
the
but we should.
Flintstones,
Right, yeah, we're getting to that point where it's gonna be the Flintstones, yeah.
What is the mileage on that now?
That was about 125,000 on that.
Gas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the new one
So
will
we have a
include a
couple
plow?
of vehicles in the list, but this one is
worst of the worst.
top. We have another one that's almost as bad, so.
Right, but, well, they were all
We're
bought
gonna
at
do
the
one
s-
at a time.
Unfortunately, they were all bought at the same time.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
bought, what, four?
Yeah.
4 of them right at the
Yeah,
same year?
yeah,
And that one vehicle is the 110, or is that? for-
yeah, one vehicle, yeah.
Is there any possibility of a truck being available from DPW or from one of the other departments?
Right now, we're going through an inventory list. We're
That would be in good shape.
No,
I mean,
most of the stuff we're trying to get rid of auction, through auction.
No, they're not in any better shape than us. In fact, they use some of our equipment.
Yeah.
And you just got the brand new one.
We did,
And-
thankfully.
But how long did that take?
A year,
It was over a year, but
Yeah.
you funded that. and-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, from when we ordered it to when
Yeah.
we received it, yeah, just
And it's a
came in
basic-
just in time for the snow removal, which is good.
It's a basic white, you know.
Yeah, it's nothing
so
fancy.
It's like,
It's nothing
really?
fancy. Yeah.
Now, this will include a plow?
Yes,
Oh, so
yes.
So this is a full setup, that's why
Yeah,
the cost
full
is.
setup with, storage boxes in the
We did
back
some
and
of that,
everything.
but we did, yes. There's more. Talking about the bathroom renovation.
We did all the part of school.
Yeah, there was some,
We did The bathroom renovations, go ahead.
I'm
sorry?
renovations.
Oh, bathroom's coming up
Okay.
on the list.
She's jumping ahead.
Yeah. So stadium renovations, I mean, this is a project that I think I began working on in 2013. We made, it took us 5 years to make a lot of progress, but we did. And we installed the turf, which has been an unbelievable improvement to both athletics, physical education, and community use. So I think it's been a fantastic investment. But to complete this project, we're estimating 5.6 million, and really that's focused on the stands, the 2 sets of stands, and the concourses, and accessibility to the facility. I mean, I put this quote here because I think it's important to know that in 1947, when they were building it, community members, it was a joint effort. It was not funded fully by the town. It was a joint effort between community members and town folk who built it right after World War II. And, they gave it to the town at that point for specifically future operation and maintenance and for use of all the town. So, and it's an important memorial for the community, and it's an important everyday use, and it is a bit of an embarrassment as the first impression of a lot of people who come to Dartmouth. We have a lot of events at that stadium, and it's pretty embarrassing. We want to gut the entire insides of the stands and repair the stands, make sure they're going to be good for another 30 years, all the concrete work that needs to be done, and then do bathrooms and kitchen facilities and in the stands and a new press box, and make everything accessible. So, because right now none of it is technically accessible. So our hope is that we do that project.
I have a question. Now that we're going down the path of potentially building a new high school, and it's gonna be in, the goal, I guess, would to be in the similar location
Yes.
that we have here. Would it make sense to add this as part of that project and limp along? Or is it something that we need to address here? Because I know, just from seeing recent schools built, Bristol Plymouth, Durfee, like that was, all of their fields, athletic fields were included. We didn't include it when we built our high school, but it seems like a lot of these schools are including athletic fields as part of their school buildings.
Yeah.
So is this something
Building
where?
process changed after this high school. This high school was one of the last under the old model.
Yeah, no, totally, and I guess, I suppose I'm not trying to criticize how the school is done. I mean, we have a great school, and like I mentioned at our meeting, I think facilities and administration for the school department has done a great job at maintaining the schools that we have, considering how old they are. We have, as I mentioned, other communities real close by that had schools built in the 70s that have been replaced, Westport, Fall River, and we're still hanging on to schools that are 75 years old, so that's a testament to the work that you folks have done. But I guess my question is would that be something that we look at, maybe not replacing, but certainly adding it onto that project?
It could be incorporated with that project. I doubt that the MSBA will participate in that part of it.
Okay.
So I think, given that you're likely years away, the cost of, construction escalation
Yeah, of
is
course.
going to impact this, and it's going to impact it one way or another. And if we're not starting it now, then I think it's certainly fair to consider it when we do the whole high school project. I would imagine that when we do a high school, a new building project over here, we would have a field component as part of that. I would envision it currently, because Dartmouth Memorial Stadium is somewhat unique and I think an important part of the community. I would say that the fields that are directly related to the new project would likely be other sports. It would not be the primary soccer, football, lacrosse, field hockey field that Dartmouth Memorial Stadium is. I think that would remain as the primary field for those sports. The other field, they would be, baseball, softball, and other sports would be part of the new building project for sure, with hopefully a multi-purpose turf field as part of that project. This could, if we don't get it done by that time, then I think we should certainly explore incorporating it with that project, for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this is, we got a little, I put a little before and after picture, because I thought that was better than showing more befores where, this is what we're dealing with in the 1950s and 60s buildings. We've done a lot of work on this. We're asking for $200,000, which is going to make a lot of headway in terms of updating the bathrooms. It will be involving both plumbing fixtures, partitions. You'll see that it looks like that partition's crooked, but it isn't. It's just the scope of the lens there. It's making a huge difference in these spaces, and
They're using all
unfortunately,
different kinds of material.
yeah,
too,
better
not metal.
material, right?
Yeah.
Better material, long-term use, scratch resistant, and really just making a better environment in those bathrooms. The thing that I have been pretty worried about for a long time is little kids in those bathrooms, where you have rusty metal, sharp edges, and they're little kids, so they're going to do things that they shouldn't. And so we just need to continue this project, and I think
You did a nice job.
we made a great. It's been
Yeah.
great. It's been great.
Now, how much will that, if that's awarded, how much will that do? How many bathrooms will that do?
Quite a
Bat-
bit.
one-
A lot.
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
Or do another-
We'd like to go into some fixtures and stuff next, but we do have more positions left. But we did quite a bit with this, and it came out really great. And it was actually,
Yeah, it looks nice.
wanted to use our schools, if you could show other people.
Wow.
We actually went into
And this one was in the 1960s, these pictures were from the 1967 Quinn School bathrooms. But yeah, it's been great. It's a huge improvement. And now that's off the list for those bathrooms, it's hopefully off the list for 25, 30 years, you know?
And that is a good idea, to do the before and after,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So we're getting to our priority threes, which priority threes are like things you're supposed to do, basically. Music and athletic equipment replacement. We had a music equipment article a couple of years ago, and then one about 8 years before that. We did replace a couple of years ago a fair amount of music equipment, but unfortunately, music equipment's pretty expensive. Like marimba can run you $15,000, so it doesn't go that far. We need to continue to modernize our equipment. We have not had an athletic equipment replacement article in my time here. So we've done that all piecemeal, whatever we had to do that breaks, we've done piecemeal, but we really need to tackle some stuff in those areas. So at some point, I'd like to.
Music is pretty easy. It's instruments.
Yeah.
What are the athletic?
Athletics, I mean, so it's everything from your outdoor athletic equipment for track and other sports, your indoor equipment. We've done some work on like basketball hoops and things like that. We need to continue that and modernize that. Those are used, by the way, every night in the winter so they're used all day by us, and then every night by community groups, DGAL, DYAA. We have a travel group that's town
Great.
residents. So, I mean, our gym space is really highly used.
Which is good.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic, and it's a good opportunity for the community to get in the schools. But some of our being older, 1922 and the 50s and 60s, there's a fair amount of wear and tear on on the gyms and the related equipment. So at some point, we need to tackle that.
Is it time to go back to the old ways? We used to have a boosters club.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the DSMA parent group and stuff like that.
Yep.
If they weren't around, the music department would be nothing, with the.
The music program itself would be nothing like it is.
Right.
They are amazing. They
Absolutely.
fund a large amount of our operation as it relates to the experience that our kids have in music.
And at
No
one
doubt.
point, we used to have a boosters club.
Yep.
They'd have dances for all the parents. I mean, there was a lot of activities going on, and they would supply the new uniforms or,
I think
the busing for all the events, so I hate to say it, but I mean, we gotta start relating back to that these people in town just can't expect just the town to pay for these things. That the people themselves that are using it have to actually start coming up and step up. More volunteer work, more.
I think so. I will say my son does play sports, and I know for every sports team, like golf, hockey certainly, and baseball, they have to fundraise.
Right.
Yeah.
And that goes to getting equipment for hockey was like helmets, gloves. It's different things that goes back into the program. So I think that like the programs that he's involved in anyway, and my daughter too, they do kind of that stuff. But like I know what you're saying, like some like padding, we expect it to have like that should be, or like a rim on a basketball, that should be provided by the school, not necessarily.
The physical,
Yeah. But for the most part, that we don't necessarily have a booster club, but they do put the onus on the kids to go out and fundraise and and do that. So I will say they do some of that, but maybe more of a centralized thing for all of athletics might be an idea to go, because it's every season it's like, hey, you need to fundraise, you need to fundraise, and it's for every program. It's
Yeah,
It's like-
and
Yeah,
equipment.
yeah,
That's
no.
how we're
and
surviving.
it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts sometimes. It's like,
Yeah.
Super Bowl squares, this, that. Before you know it, you're like, geez, like if you charge a little bit more money for the program, then I wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying, but I think the individual sports do a good job of putting the onus on the students to try to get, funds. And I think you could speak to that, Mr. Kylie, like,
Yeah.
of how they do with fundraising with.
Oh, they do well. They do well with fundraising. I mean, I feel like, I mean, that is the way we survive as a, you know, in terms of athletics, that's a key component because we don't have a lot in our budget, for athletics. We definitely do not have enough. And, yeah, music and athletics, I mean, the parents are making
Yeah.
the
But
difference,
now,
oh,
didn't
for
you,
sure.
in the past, you've had discussions, I think, about sponsorships. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know how that, I mean, I obviously got turned down, and they were afraid it was gonna get,
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. I mean, we have a school committee policy on sort of relations with, you know, official relationships with businesses in the community. We do some limited, you know, advertising on things. It's an interesting, you know, you gotta be really careful.
no,
Because you're associating yourself with this entity and, you know, and there may be some businesses that you just wouldn't want to be
Want to, and stuff
associated
like
with. For whatever reason, it's not consistent with something, you know, that should be in schools in terms of substances or things like that. So you gotta be careful when you open it up as to how you do that.
yeah.
And a lot of it over the time, that, you know, you've seen like a lot of these corporations, they've cut back a lot on their,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
what they're donating.
yeah, but you go to, like, you
Coke
go,
used to give us all the scoreboards and everything, right?
Right,
Like
yeah.
Coca-Cola. But we can't even have that anywhere on school grounds anymore, so, you know,
Right.
there's, what's the,
but, you know, like, you've got the Pontigantic, you know, they've got
Yep.
the board set up for their sponsors every year for the concert series
Yeah.
and stuff like that. If it's set up a little bit more like that, then, you know, is there a possibility, or maybe it's something that people have to start looking at?
yeah, yeah.
So I think your presentation is almost over, but I have a question more
Yes.
for Gary and so we're gonna need to borrow for the roof, and it's probably gonna be in the range of 6 million. If we did an article that included some of these other things, is that something we could do? Because that could maybe bite off a big chunk of that apple that they're asking for in terms of stuff. So like if we, you know, if we said the track, because the track's almost $1 million, right? So if we said the roof, track, and some of the larger projects here, obviously like the bus and stuff, which has got a short-term payback, we wouldn't do, but like, you know, a track is a 20-year thing, a roof is a 20-year thing. So some of these that have a longer time frame, could we kind of put those together and say, hey, we're doing the roof and the track and the HVAC system, which is, again, 20-year, you know, things, which makes sense for borrowing versus, hey, we're gonna borrow for a bus that's gonna be replaced in 5 years and we're still paying for it,
Yeah,
so.
we've talked about that in the group here. I think last year we started having some real discussions on that. I would check to see if the MSBA article would have to be, or the borrowing have to be separate from everything else. But it's a good point. I think that, you know, combining some of these, and not only just for schools, but, you know, let's talk about a DPW, let's talk about, you know, those other groups. I think once we get a sense of where we are at the end of these meetings, we should then explore, you know, what that looks like in
Well, I think-
combination with what the schools need for the roof.
Yeah, the only reason I brought that up is because it sounds like we're gonna have to go for one for the roof anyway. And if
Yeah.
we did one that was just kind of focused on schools, that might be a little easier for people to understand than going DPW, schools, this, that, and like, you know, people's allegiances, I would say, fall
Yeah.
short.
We
in
can look
one
at
areas
different,
and
we
not
can look
others,
at
so-
different options. Just remember that every time we go out to the market, it costs
Certainly.
a substantial amount of
Yeah,
money.
absolutely, absolutely.
So we'll obviously take a look at that. It's gonna be one of the items I think we bring up at the end of these meetings, is to talk about going forward with smaller, when I say smaller, I mean, we're not talking about the $110 million projects. These are the smaller, projects, up to $5-6 million, that we need to discuss. We talked about that last year. I think we need to have a more
And that's
broader
part of
discussion this year.
that, that's part of that funding of putting the money away into that long term.
Right.
Is something that we can grab at.
Plus,
Yeah, maybe there's a hybrid approach, you know, maybe we use some of those funds in combination with either the roof or either some things that the schools need, and we did that last year. Remember, we did the $500,000.
Yeah, I was just thinking like, the stands is 5 million, the roof is 6
That's the
million,
add-up.
the
Yep.
track is 1 million. I mean, that right there alone, again, when you add a few of these things that I think have that long-term, it's an easy, it makes sense to folks when you say, hey, these are 20-year items that we're borrowing for, like, versus, a bus, which again, like, we should
More
be able to
shorter
use,
term,
yeah, it's
right,
just a short term, we should be able to use free cash on something like that.
Yeah,
not,
so I think the strategy going forward is we need to look at that, have more conversation at the end of these meetings, as I mentioned. But I mean, you could be north of 15 million if you started to add up all these.
Right,
all
but,
these
but it,
projects.
but it, but if it solves a problem for the schools and it takes out a good portion of those priority ones,
Yep.
then with free cash, maybe we do fund, the instruments, like, because we have free cash
Money
to
to
be
do
able
it,
to do
yeah.
that, as opposed to trying to fund large projects with such a short amount of money that we have here,
Yeah, both Cody and I have talked about potentially having to do something sooner than later.
Problem is, what is the timeline? Because at that point, you have to have it for a vote, am I right? Not just town meeting, but it has to go into,
You know, it would have to be a debt exclusion.
Debt exclusion, we have to go up to the ballot, yeah.
which has to go,
Well, so that's,
On the vote.
again,
Realistically,
that,
probably not this April. I
Right.
think we'd be looking at next April. And we've talked about, in order to, you're right, as far as kind of allegiance and getting it to pass. But we also, there's a lot of, unfortunately, the mindset of some people is, I don't have kids in the school.
right,
So when we look at this, and we have needs across town, we plan to put a package together with kind of what we feel are the highest priorities. Long range, we've talked about this, they have some recommendations. We're gonna be presenting to the select board on March 9th, what those recommendations are. And a lot of that is, some sort of borrowing package in the next year or two, probably in that, $25 to $40 million range to get a lot of these, $5-6 million projects completed, which includes the roof, the stadium, some necessary upgrades at DPW, water, wastewater, and so on and so forth. And they'll be funded through various mechanisms, but essentially, we'll need the debt exclusion.
right. So if we're gonna do a special election that's gonna cost 15,000, let's make it worthwhile and not just one project and then the next year we're having to do something else and,
Yeah,
I think that,
if we're gonna go out for a borrowing, we're gonna make it
Yeah.
almost like an infrastructure borrowing, that we would include the schools and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that
so
makes sense.
you basically could change your timeline then, instead of waiting until this April, or the April after that, you could actually change it, we could say, okay, in the fall, if we really wanted to, if we could put together our packages.
Yeah,
Because
potentially.
then we could turn around and eat up a lot of this stuff and everything else that we hear this next couple of weeks. If we could actually put together a package, we can also.
but it still have to be voted on at a,
Right, but then if you do the special election, a special election would, $15,000 is really peanuts compared to what you could save if you do it right,
I agree.
I would think.
Yeah, you gotta, again, yes, but we have to be mindful of, if you have a special election specifically for a debt exclusion, what will the voter turnout be, and what will the mindset be of the voters?
It's gonna be on the mindset of what you really wanna put that money towards, and that's it. But, and hopefully at this point, I mean, you've gotten so many groups now, setting forth for promoting the new school, and then we also know we have to do so much with the water and sewer. So you've got groups that are definitely gonna go, so if we can combine it also, that way you grab the whole.
And there was general
Whole
support
picture in
at
both.
the last town meeting. We heard that there was
Yeah.
general support
Yeah,
for this.
so-
We didn't have many specifics to tell people about, but they understand. And the point was made that the longer we wait, the more costly it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So the only recommendation, and I think this is for, not just for the schools, but for all departments, is I like what you did with how you did the bathrooms, but, being on this committee for a while, it's like we approve, and we never really get to see what the results are.
Yeah.
So if, in the future, if you could take 5 or 10 minutes on projects that are maybe 1 or 2 years ago.
Of course.
That we,
That have been
that
completed,
have
that
been
we've-
completed, and especially now that it's gonna be, available online, so for the town folks have the availability to see, where that money is going to.
good idea.
It's huge. I know Tim Barber has done that, and it's like, and it's a great presentation. I appreciate that you have done that. And it's, sometimes we only get to see this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. You're like, geez, like it could be kind of,
Yeah.
you know, but to show like, hey, listen, this is what we've done, and maybe it's a picture of the new truck, or like, you know, the bathroom was fantastic.
Spending the money.
It's a
and
good
we
point.
See the results.
So if you could do that at the beginning of
It's
like.
the stuff
of
we're
these-
happiest about.
Yeah, I mean,
Stuff
that'd
we've
be
been able
great,
to
because
accomplish.
that will help us see that what we've done is actually, you know,
Yes.
going well, because in the time we've approved articles and like they just sit there for years and they don't get used, and Gary has done a great job and Cody has done a great job to kind of reclaim some of that money. It didn't happen for years, and it was kind of tough to see, like you see like a 10-year article, and you're like, well, we could have used that money to do something else, you know, and, so if you could do that, that'd be fantastic.
Yep.
And very appreciative.
Okay, anything else, John?
Just thank you for your consideration. I know that there's a limited, you know, pool of funds, and I know there's plenty of other needs besides the schools, and, but I always appreciate your, you know, your efforts to support us and support the community and the kids in the community, and I will, in terms of borrowing, the MSBA piece is a pretty big factor into that. So I'll be sure, you know, we Mr. Haddad and Mr. Carrero and I meet regularly. But in between that, if I get any idea exactly what the timeline is from MSBA, then I'll share that with them so we can start thinking about the strategy for timing as we move
Jim,
forward.
can you, I mean, maybe we've discussed it enough, or maybe we can ask you enough, is, you know, we've turned around and prioritized things for things that if we hold off until fall,
Yes.
it still works into your schedule, or I need this approved this round to be able to get this accomplished this year or for the summer. You know what I mean? Because we know like the flooring. as an
Flooring can
example.
only be done in the summer.
It's only gonna be
right?
done in the summer, so we've got to approve it this
Right.
round, so you can get started on it and get that done this summer.
Yep.
And
I'm sure the technology is something that is important to be.
It's important too. You gotta get that in the schools and get set up over the summer. I mean, if we're gonna get money in June, it might not be feasible to actually complete a playground over the summer
Right.
because you've
Right, that's not
got
gonna
a lot of logistics in terms of, so that is maybe more a fall.
Yep.
I mean, my biggest worry with the bus is what happens if it doesn't pass inspection or doesn't work?
And lead time.
that's a safety issue at this point.
I feel like the bus should be done sooner rather than later. The telephones, I mean, so they'll stop being supported in 2028. It would be tricky to do during school, but
I would
maybe
imagine
could.
that, even though
But
the maintenance probably just goes up. I'm like, they probably don't make it anymore, but
Yeah.
their maintenance costs will go up.
Yeah.
Because that's.
Is that a whole rewiring? You gotta
No,
rewire
no,
it?
it's cloud
No.
based, so it's all data
No.
core stuff. I mean, I don't want to speak, I mean, it's kind of what I do, so it's IP based, so it's all computer based. You know?
Oh, okay.
I mean, so,
But is that something you look at saying it's the fall, because if it's not gonna,
It's possible that
Yeah, I
that
mean,
could be the
it's-
fall.
because if it's not gonna be updated, I mean, you got until 2028 really to.
I know, that's
be-
coming quick.
Yeah, I know.
I would say like there's gonna be some logistics, like they're gonna have to do some stuff on the back end to make that work, like their network connectivity, they have to get some SIP line. There's a few things that they would have to do that, you know,
Yeah.
we've done.
Yeah.
But that's all stuff that can get done kind of like in the back end, you know, all figured out. So when they do go live, but the funding has to be there. But I would imagine that could probably wait, but that's,
Well, I'm gonna refer to your judgment on that stuff, because, you know, I don't understand most of the deep stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that
not gonna
may
pretend to.
wait. I mean, the high school roof, obviously, we've talked about. We don't know exactly when that'll be, but I doubt it'll be the June 2nd town meeting. HVAC, the problem there is we're running out of money. We have an article right now. There's not a lot left in it, and when we run out, I don't know how we
Work
fix the
stops,
stuff.
yeah.
So I would hope maybe we could get something in June for that. The track we talked about a little bit. I don't know that could actually be accomplished in time. if we get the money in June 2nd. So unfortunately, that might be something for the fall. New renovated school, yeah, we want that in June.
Of what year?
Yeah. Vehicle replacement, I mean, like Mr. Brooks said, it's taking us a year to get these vehicles, and we've got a vehicle it would not pass inspection, for sure. I mean, we're using it, so it's a town vehicle, I don't know what that means, but it's like, so,
How many vehicles in the fleet? 6?
we have a dump truck, a box truck, we
So
have,
you'd be down
we
one truck.
have, yeah, we'd be,
The dump trucks and the state
Mm.
trucks, those are the summer stuff, so. This truck was plowing, I mean, there's like tie wraps and duct tape. And together, they step on the runner board, it drops about 2 inches. This one's tied.
Yeah.
This is actually the groundskeeper's truck too. We use that all the summertime. to vehicle stuff.
so, I mean, I think we should do that sooner rather than later, but, and then stadium, bathrooms, bathrooms are tough to do during the school year. We did do some though, some this fall. And, Mr. Bernard coordinated that where we just closed bathrooms for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and then we,
Is there any money left in previous articles for bathrooms to?
a little bit of money for some equipment, but nothing that we would be like, we couldn't redo a bathroom.
So I guess the question is like, I know you're asking for that, but if we had enough to fund, say, half, would that keep you going?
Yeah.
To do bathrooms? I
Yeah.
think that's kind of
Yeah,
what.
but that would be something, I mean, we basically, at this point, are, we're doing it systematically, and we're trying to tackle the worst ones first, so, and we've done some of that, so that's great. But, yeah, I mean, that's one that can be scaled, yes,
Okay.
and then,
Because right now, I mean, I just added it up, like, we're like 1.585.
yeah.
If we took all your spring ones right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would
All ones
encourage,
off.
yeah,
You know, that's with.
The ones that can be
that's
done
with the
in
That's
the
with the
summer.
bathrooms and the truck, you take those off, now you're down to, 1.275, so.
The ones that could be done in the summer for
Right.
timing.
Right.
One of my biggest fears is the HVAC. Because it's an everyday.
I've got that in there, I've got that in that 1.2,
I don't say we need that, but with some, because it's an everyday occurrence where it's a motor, it's a bearing, it's a
Right,
fan,
right.
it's a
Right.
pump, 5,000.
So my question is that a scalable amount too, or is that?
yes, but it's also, we just don't know.
Right, no, I understand, but again, like, if it could be, if it's like, hey, we need the full amount, but
No.
if it could be scalable, I think that's my,
It could be in
my question.
pieces.
Okay.
It could be over a couple of town meetings or something.
Okay.
Does doing one bid on those jobs save any money?
No,
No.
no, because our jobs are,
over
no,
the place.
unfortunately, it's all over the place.
And for that, you need specialized, I mean, if you're working on HVAC, it's something maybe that John could do, but if it's more
Yeah.
involved, you need to call somebody in.
We're doing some pumps and stuff right now at the high school, major, big pumps. that we're shuffling around. There's only one running the building right now, one's out, and the other one's on the border. But they're 5,000 $6,000 repairs, and everything else.
Right, right.
They do sub that out, because they put their lasers.
Right, it's not just installing stuff in.
No, it's just not. We do a
Right.
ton of it, but there's some stuff that goes out,
Yep.
yeah.
And if we were to, like you said, scale this, and they happen to really need more than we've scaled, you can always go to the emergency fund, right? Through the finance committee to pull out money to finish something off and then come back to us. To
Yeah, if there was a
resupply it, I mean, especially since we've got money, $1 million in the long range, we know we have the money put aside for capital. Is it something that you can go through that process?
Speaking of, so John took a couple of pictures of, like, for instance, our generator is down at the high school. It's not working. So we did lose power, by the way, the other day briefly, and the whole place is black, no heating runs, no nothing. no refrigeration, no anything runs, when that is now happening. It's gonna be $40,000 to fix it,
Does that include?
totally unplanned,
Does that include emergency exits and
Yep.
all those lights?
Yep.
Okay, so that's.
totally
that's-
black.
I mean, that's a safety thing, I
It's a big
think.
safety thing.
I mean,
yeah.
certainly refrigeration, you don't wanna
We're
lose that
working
stuff,
on
but if it's emergency exits and emergency lighting, I think that's really what you wanna focus on, cause I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the other stuff, yeah, you don't wanna spoil like food, but if you can't get out because, you know, people are falling downstairs because it's not emergency lighting and stuff, that's certainly a safety thing, so if you need emergency funding, I would
Mm-hmm.
really focus
Is
on
that,
those
is
things.
that a repair or replacement?
Just to
Repair.
It's a radiator. The radiator is
For-
about two of those windows. but
We're
the-
talking like the diesel generator?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it on the roof, those
No,
generators?
it's outside.
Okay, good, okay.
So is that on the agenda for the finance committee?
It isn't at this point. I mean, I haven't requested, I have not, this is like a developing thing,
Very
you
new,
know, it's been a couple of weeks and we're trying to figure out, okay, exactly what it's gonna take to get this thing up and running, but
Sounds
yeah,
like that's
the
what
whole
reserve funds
radiator
for.
shot and the,
Yeah, if you could send me an email, Jim.
Yeah, sure.
With like what's going on with
Yeah.
it, and maybe some pictures
yeah.
and
Yeah, I didn't include the pictures.
invoices
in
or
there.
whatever backup you have.
Yeah, we can do that. But those things come up, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was never on the capital improvement list. We just didn't think,
I mean, things fail.
it was
right?
working and then it wasn't,
Yeah.
so.
Doing a PM and they call me up, they're like, this generator's down.
Is it South Shore that you guys use?
No, we use a company, power generator. Yeah.
But thank you,
Okay,
appreciate it.
Thank you.
very
Thank
much,
you
Jim.
both for all the work you do. It's not an easy job.
so, as we wrap up here, I'll just go through, what we have coming up. We have the police, on 2/18 at 9 o'clock, and, DPW, water, sewer, trash on 3/2 at 9 o'clock. And I've sent that schedule out, but as we get closer to the dates, I'll be sending the agenda and also the, items that go along with it. And tentatively, on 2/25, we've got all the smaller departments, which only have like 1 or 2 requests. So we don't have to do an hour increment for each one of those. So it would be Parks and Rec, Library, DCTV, Waterways, and Health. So we
And
could
those
probably do
meetings
it
are at 8, Gary?
9.
9.
Those are at 9. We could probably do a session on the 25th with all those. I'm just trying to coordinate that right now. So that's a tentative date for the 25th. So the next time we'll meet will be 2/18. You'll also have the master schedule with everything on it, so you can review what the totals are for each department. That'll be done for the 18th.
Waterways is actually going to do a capital,
Harbor, they're looking for a truck.
Nothing from admin?
We had an elevator, we had repairs to the elevator, but that was paid out of the Finance Committee's fund, the reserve fund.
I've got an elevator on the list.
before we adjourn, I want a motion that we have Gary as the chairman, named as the chairman of this board.
I'll second that emotion.
All in favor? Aye. 3 to
I guess.
Congratulations.
You don't want to raise?
You have to pick a
15
vice
years
chair.
it took me to get rid of that title.
You might want to pick a vice chair too.
Oh, you should make a motion for Bruce to be vice chair.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for Bruce to be vice chair.
Second that?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So other than that, again, the next meeting date will be 2/18. Does everybody have anything else?
If I'm not around, will Zoom be available? I might be able to zoom in.
Yeah, we could set it up. We'll talk to DC, we'll talk to Pete.
You want a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in
All in
favor?
favor? Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Very
you.
much.